Captain Murray S. Pulver, United States Army, World War II. Folks, this is an extra special story. Murray's one of the first veterans I interviewed when I started my work in the Phoenix area almost 22 years ago. I met him in Sun City, Arizona. It was March 28, 2003. Met him and his wife, Mabel. And I learned a lot about this man. If he was a Marine, he'd be Marine, folks. A hero to the end. He was just an amazing man. On his obituary, it said that Murray was a natural leader whose winning presence allowed him to take control of situations with ease. And that's the way he commanded his troops in Europe. He didn't land on D-Day, but he fought from the hedgerows of Normandy to Magdeburg, Germany, folks, and just received numerous awards, a Distinguished Service Cross for his heroism in World War II. He took out 2 tanks with a bazooka and killed a lot of the enemy with rifle grenades and helped thwart the enemy attack and actually caused them to completely withdraw and helped wound it along the way too. He received a Silver Star during the Battle of the Bulge, Bronze Star, 3 Purple Hearts, folks, and I can go on and on. He wrote a book about his year in Europe called The Longest Year. I can't find it in print on Amazon or on the internet, but I'm looking for it, The Longest Year. He may have given me a copy. I'll have to take a better look here. But what an amazing man. He fought with the 30th Infantry Division, which was the 120th Infantry Regiment, Company B, as a first lieutenant and then promoted as a captain. So, boy, this is just one of my best stories. It's been sitting in my office for almost 22 years. He is featured, by the way, in my first film, Omaha Beach. And when I started interviewing these veterans, it was for the documentaries. I never thought I would ever release their full stories. At the end of Murray's interview, you'll see me highlighting his awards with his shadow box, and he's so proud of those awards. And just, it was awesome to be in his presence as I look back now and reflect on the time that I had with him in his home. We lost Murray in 2012 at the age of 93, September 2012. We lost Mabel in March of 2012, so he lost his wife 6 months earlier. But he was strong until the end, folks. And like I said, he was a farmer, did a lot of other things, was real interested in baseball, and just a great man. And I'm so happy to share his story with you here on the Voices of History YouTube channel, and will be on my Voices of History radio channel. I want to thank several individuals for helping me with my work, helping me to go forward, helping me to retrieve these interviews from my archives. Folks, don't take it for granted. You see the end result of all the labor, of all the work, the traveling, the interviews, the many hours of editing, post-production work, and so on, folks. But I want to thank Chet Howard, Sean Johnson, and S.K. Ofstad. These 3 gentlemen have been instrumental in supporting my work and helping you to learn from these stories. So you guys, I salute all 3 of you. Thank you for your service to our country through helping with these interviews. I know that SK served in the Army during Iraq and Afghanistan. Chet and I never served in the military, but like Chet said, we were born with a debt that we have to pay. So we are helping with the work here and helping you to learn about these stories. And Sean, thank you. I don't remember, Sean, if you served in the military. If you did, I salute you for that. But you guys, thank you. God bless you. God richly bless you for your help. And I would like to encourage others out there that would like to help this work, to support this work, to donate to this work, or even sponsor a story. As I say over and over, there's information in the video description below every video. There's a link there to sponsor a story. There's a link in the comment section of the videos. Go to comment on a video. You'll see the link there. Or just go to larrycappetto.com and you can donate through there. You can help support my radio station also. That's on the air there. So, folks, my heart's so full and so grateful that I can share Murray Pulver's story. Captain Pulver, sir, I salute you today. I know you're looking down from heaven, and I'm so happy to share your story. It's not a long story, folks, but it's power-packed, and should have received the Congressional Medal of Honor for his actions there in July of 1944. You'll probably agree with me when you hear him. Such a mild-mannered man. They were all very humble, never considered themselves heroes, never drew attention to themselves, went on and lived their lives, and then left this earth. And I don't think it's a coincidence that all hell is breaking loose now on this earth with the departure of our World War II generation. So pray for this country, folks. We got an election coming up. Let's get on our knees and pray. If that's you, you know who I'm talking to. And if not, just say a prayer for our country. Amen. God bless you. Thank you for watching, listening, sharing these stories. and I'll talk to you in my next broadcast. Enjoy Murray's story.
Start when I first got in service, or
No, just tell me. No, just tell me. Introduce yourself, your name, and then tell me the division you're with over in Normandy.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
the Normandy campaign, and what your rank and what your job was, and then I'm going to ask you some questions from there. So just kind of do a little
Very
introduction. Go anytime you want to go. I'm ready.
Okay, with good morning. My name is Murray Pulver. I was in European Theater of Operation from June 1944 until April 1945. I went into the battle at the area of St. Lo, and as a replacement officer, first lieutenant, and within 2 weeks I was promoted to company commander, and I led Company B, the 120th Infantry, from the hedgerows of Normandy to Magdeburg, Germany.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Okay, Murray, I just want the main part of this documentary is focusing on the assault landings in Normandy, or even in the Pacific, but mainly in the Normandy invasion. And what I'm trying to do is just chronological, just get some information from you guys regarding your experience with the beach landing. And I don't know where you want to start, but most of the guys start like the night before, even what they had to eat, getting into the boats.
Well, I wasn't in the invasion.
Okay. Well, just tell me your experience, what part you had in the Normandy invasion, just the whole campaign.
Okay.
And just pick it up from wherever you entered into the scene. So go ahead, wherever that is.
Well, during the invasion of Normandy, I was at Southampton in a replacement depot, being a replacement officer. We didn't know until almost the day of the invasion that it was going to happen. The security was really good. So at that time I was, as I say, with a replacement depot, and we were dug in on a huge estate, and of course we were doing the usual thing, practicing one way or another, map reading, night maneuvers and so on, and it was D+6 before we were alerted to the fact that we were going to France. And on D+6, we walked our way through roads that there was so much munitions, trucks, tanks, you name it, along these roads that we walked into Southampton and sat on the deck or on the wharf at Southampton. We marched probably 4 or 5 hours to get to this point, to the docks, and there we sat on the docks waiting to board ship for another 4 or 5 hours. Finally, about, I would say, 10 o'clock in the morning, we boarded ship and headed for the coast of France. This was a contingent of about 500 soldiers, I would say. When we got to Omaha Beach, what impressed me so much was the barrage balloons. There was just hundreds of barrage balloons everywhere at Southampton, at the port there at Southampton, also at Omaha Beach. And there was quite a wind blowing, and they were swinging back and forth, and every once in a while you'd see one take off into the sky. It would break away from its mooring. Well, anyway, we probably got into Omaha Beach probably 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and anticipated getting right off and going ashore, but there we sat waiting and waiting and waiting, and bodies actually were floating by. And we thought it was terrible that the bodies had not been picked up. But after a day or so, with the utter confusion that was on the beachhead, we understood. But anyway, we didn't get our orders to be ready to go over the side until about 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why. To this day, I don't know why. But anyway, we went over the side on these nets, and there was quite a bit of turbulence in the water, and these landing crafts are bouncing up and down, and you had to be very careful about the way you release yourself from the nets and get into the boat. There was, I would say, maybe 3 or 4 soldiers that was hurt getting into the boat. But I was, I don't know why, maybe it's because of my size, but I was the first one to be picked to lead a group of 80 men onto the beach in 2 boats. And when we got on the boats, we immediately took off for shore. We got about 100 yards from the beach, and the front dropped down, and the man in charge of the landing craft said, "This is as far as I go, off you go." And it was quite rough. I mean, the water was choppy. I had given 2 men charge of our records. They had the records for the 80 men. So I picked 2 of the biggest, strongest men that I could find, and I said, "You hang on to those and get them ashore." We got off in waist-deep water, but with the waves, I felt sorry for the poor guy that was 5'6" or 5'8", because the water was going over their heads. We waded ashore, and I got the 80 men in line, and I said, "Stay put, I'll see if I can find out where we're to go." There's nobody around, but I did see the light from a bunker a short distance away, and I went to the bunker, and there was a Navy personnel there that was on guard, and I asked him who was in charge, and he said, "The man in the bunker." And I went down, a naval officer, and I said, "Where are we supposed to go?" And he said, "Who are you?" I says, "Well, I'm one of the fellows that was out on that boat right out there since 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon. He says, I don't know anything about Army personnel. He says, my job here is to unload whatever is brought in, food or ammunition or whatever. I said, you have no idea of where the troops are to go? Well, he says, there's a road right there that's heading east and goes up over the hill. So I went out, and there wasn't a man in formation. 3 German planes had come over and dropped personnel or these parachute flares, and everything was lit up, and so every man took off and was hiding behind anything that they could find. Finally, I got the 80 men back on track, and the 2 men with the big box, I said, where is the box? He said, well, the wave came up, and to save ourselves, we had to drop it. So without our records, we took off, headed east over the hill. Every time we came to a crossroad, we would find MPs, and they would say, oh, you go this way, or you go that way. We marched for a good 8 hours, and can you imagine 80-pound packs, because we carried supplies to go immediately into combat. So we had our ammunition, we had double change of all our clothing and food for 2 or 3 days, and impregnated suits. If you know what that's like, I sympathize with the men in the desert today with all the clothes they have to wear if they're anticipating this gas warfare. But anyway, we were soaking wet, of course, from head to foot, and so with our pack, 80-pound pack, and it was a struggle, but for 8 hours we marched, and we wound up about 4 miles from where we started because we were misdirected so many times. We wound up in a field and were told immediately to dig in. At the end of the field was a glider. They were quite a large plane, and they had a mess hall set up in the glider. So after we got our holes dug, we went and got something to eat. I don't remember right now what it was, but anything tasted good. From there, we were assigned to a field and told to dig in because the Germans were bombing every night. So we dug in, and this was D+13. And as my records were lost and our records were lost, there we sat. We weren't assigned. I don't know whether to thank those fellows that dropped that box or what, but anyway, we didn't get assigned until I think it was the 29th of June that I got assigned.
Let me go back to the beach landing. Again, even though you didn't go in on D-Day itself, I'm still interested in what you did because that's what this documentary is focusing on. So just tell me a little bit more about the landing craft. Was it a Higgins boat, an LCVP? Was it an LCI? Or do you remember what the kind of craft it was?
I think it was LCI, okay. Yes.
Okay. And at that time of the invasion, was there apprehension on board? Did you know what had happened to the first few beach landings on D-Day, June 6th, and what was the mood like in the boat going to shore?
Oh yes, we more or less knew that the beach had been established, and even though we could hear artillery fire in the background inland, we felt relatively safe. I don't know if the men in the LCI felt that way or not, but we could never understand why we weren't taken right to the beach instead of dumped off in the water. But as I said, everything was mass confusion, and I suppose also that he had been doing this for a few days, and the German planes were active at night, and they were dropping bombs. And
Hey, tell me about that site you said when you first started talking to me. What were those balloon things called? What was the purpose of them? Give me a story on
the barrage balloons were put in place at Southampton as well as the beachheads, so that the Germans couldn't come in and dive bomb. These balloons were on cables, wire cable, and they went up probably 300-400 feet. So the Germans couldn't come in and dive bomb. And that was the reason for the balloons.
But beyond that, what would have happened if? Tell me what would have happened if a plane would have hit one of those.
Oh, if a plane had hit one of those, below one of those dive bombers, I mean below one of those barrage balloons, well, it would have tore off their wings and it would have crashed. That was the purpose, to keep them away from coming in dive bombing.
Tell me a little more what you said. Coming in on D-Day +6, there were still bodies floating in the water. I mean, was the beach pretty much freed up of that type of scene, or was that also on the beach? Or how does it, what are you thinking when you see that type of thing? Or did it affect you or the other men? Or?
Well, it certainly affected a lot of people. And as I said, there was nothing but mass confusion for many, many days after that landing. There was debris all over the beach, blown out tanks, trucks, you name it. It was laying there on the beach. And also the bodies, a lot of the bodies had been picked up, of course, but there were still bodies coming in from the ocean.
You were how old then? You were pretty young?
I was 21.
Yeah, were you pretty focused on what you were doing? I mean, did that distract you at all from what you were supposed to do? Now, you were in command of those 80 men?
I was in command at that time of the 80 men, getting them to the to a point where they would be dispatched to units. Yes.
I'm going to ask you another question, Murray. I think you pretty much covered what I wanted to hear there, but I've been asking all the veterans this question here, so I want you to think about this before you answer. But I'm looking back at World War II and the freedoms and the freedoms that we have today in this country. If you could say something to the younger generation, what would be your message in reference to what happened during World War II, maybe specifically the Normandy campaign, going against Hitler, what have you, and just the freedoms we have today? What would you tell young kids today regarding their freedoms and how to live their lives?
I think the kids today should thank their parents, their grandparents, and the good Lord to have the freedom that they have. They just don't understand how fortunate they are to be living in this generation. For many years after I came home from the war, I didn't speak of the war because if I did, people just didn't want to listen. They didn't want to hear about it. they had suffered too much being on food stamps and being rationed, and they thought they had suffered. But they have no conception of what it was like to be in the front lines in a terrible, terrible war.
Good. You know, every day I hang my flag, I think about guys like you.
Thank you.
And I have so much respect, and that's one reason I'm doing this documentary, is to record those pieces of history, you know, before it's too late, you know, and also to share this with the kids today, because a lot of them don't know anything about World War II. And times put a lot of distance between World War II and today, and I don't know, like you said, we don't realize, you know, freedom's not free, you know, and there was a price that was paid. Now, there have been wars since World War II, and I understand that, but, you know, to me, that Normandy invasion, D-Day, was a very pivotal point in our history, and if we wouldn't have gone in and stood up to Hitler, who knows what we'd be doing today. It may have changed the course of the world, I don't know, you know, so it was that important.
It certainly could have, yes.
Tell me what you got there, Murray. Go ahead, anytime you're ready.
Well, there are very few people. In fact, I could take you to Luke Air Force Base like I did 3 months ago, and I interviewed, it was appreciation for Veterans Day, and I asked 400 people what this medal stood for. This is a Distinguished Service Cross, the second highest award given by the United States Services. And there wasn't but 2 people in 400 that I asked that knew what that meant. So that's the Distinguished Service Cross. I received that in St. Louis area. I knocked out 2 German tanks with a bazooka in one day.
Oh my goodness.
And received the Distinguished Service Cross. The award over here is a Silver Star. That was I received that in a battle north of Paris I can't remember the name of the Villette. The name of the town was Villette. The Bronze Star with clusters, I received at Mortain in Germany, a couple places in Germany. Below my picture is the Distinguished Service Award given by the state of New York. That was after I came home from service. The Purple Heart, I received 3 Purple Hearts. I gave one to a nurse, and she was so happy to get this Purple Heart. She says, you know, I'm never going to get out there on the battlefield to get one. She said, thank you very much. Are you sure you want to give it to me? I said, I'm not making a collection of these, so be my guest. This is a European theater, these 2 awards, and this is Pacific Theater. I was seven months in Hawaii right after Pearl Harbor. And of course, this is a French award that was presented to me here in Phoenix a short time ago. And Combat Infantry Badge, and something I awarded for expert in several different things in training in Alabama.
That's pretty impressive.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Proud of that.
Am I still on?
Yep.
Okay. These were given to me by a sergeant that was in my company, and I don't know if you've seen these or not, but if, you might want to take a very close-up of these.
Okay.
This was the invasion of Normandy at Omaha Beach.
Okay, now when you say this was, it was given?
These 5.
Okay,
These 5.
okay. Yes, I'm going to do that right now.
Can you get close enough to see what they are?
I've got a nice close-up. My camera zoomed right in on them.
Very good.
Now I'm looking at these first 5 right now.
That's right.
Okay, I'm on the second row. Just those the parachutes. Now I'm over to this other one. Now those are those considered medals or what?
No, this was made after the war, and it depicts what happened at Omaha Beach.
Okay. Those are valuable.
I suppose.
Yes.
But I had a sergeant in Tampa, Florida. He's gone now, but when he was with the company, he was a very valuable man, and after the war we corresponded and met many times. He would come to visit me, or I'd go to visit him.
I'm taking another shot of them here. Those are amazingly, I mean, when I look at every one of those, it brings back a picture of that portion of the invasion.
Oh, yes.
Those are incredible, Murray. I'd offer to buy those from you, but I'm sure you wouldn't sell them. But now, what's the bottom row? La Manche?
And now, this is La Manche. That was presented to me by the mayor of Tessy-Severe.
Okay.
And 3 years ago, I was in France, and I was invited to come to the city hall, and all the dignitaries from the city of Tessy-Severe were there, and they presented me with this award.
Okay.
There was 4 of them presented, 2 to French, and 1 to a general, and 1 to myself. Mm-hmm. Not all at the same time. The Center Award was given to me by a historian of Paris. Mm-hmm. He lived in the town of Villette, and my company liberated Villette, and that was presented to me 3 years ago.
Okay.
This is an award given to I don't think it was given to more than a half a dozen people, and I was a guest of the mayor of Mortain, and Mortain was a decisive battle of the battle against the Germans in France.
Excellent. Now, what's at the very top there? The picture, is there?
I have that in my pocket. That's my identification, officer's identification card.
Good-looking soldier back there, Murray.
Thank you.
If you could find some pictures.